Most people make learning animation really complicated, but instead of focusing on animating everything at once, the best way to get started is to move one object really well. But how do you make that one object move really, really well in one practice session? Well, after 6 years as a motion designer, I realized that my work felt off. So I went back to animating one of the classic animator exercises, which is a bouncing ball. And as it turns out, you can learn 6 core animation principles from doing this exercise. But I've made an even simpler version for anybody who is new to animation. I'll walk you through those 6 lessons right now, and then I'll show you what to do next, because most beginners lose their momentum for these 2 simple reasons. The simpler you start, the easier it is to focus on what is actually making the movement memorable, smooth, and just absolutely wonderful. I know that sounds weird, but when you're an animator, this is like how you start to think. So the simple exercise is just move the ball across the screen, like this. If you do this, you learn about what makes that good motion a lot quicker. By the way, if you haven't heard yet, because I don't know where you are exactly in your beginner's journey, but I'm assuming you are fairly new to animation and you're trying to animate, you may or may not have heard of the 12 principles of animation. These 12 principles are the core building blocks of what makes good movement in animation. And the reason why I bring this up is because 4 out of the 6 lessons that I'm going to talk about that this one exercise teaches are principles of animation, but not all of them. So let's start with the first lesson, which is one of the principles. And this is one of those principles that rarely gets talked about. Lesson 1, staging. Staging is where are you putting your ball to tell your story. You become the director setting up the shot. If you put it high, your viewer feels like they're going to be looking up at the ball. If you put it low, it's like we're looking down on it. Middle is kind of considered neutral. You also get to decide when you're staging something, will it be moving all the way across the screen or only half? And that's only one way that staging affects how your viewer feels about your animation, similar to setting up a camera shot. So if you want to find out many different ways that you can set up your camera shot that tells an invisible story, which helps you with your staging, I'm going to link a video in the description below, but for this exercise right now, just pick high, low, or middle, and draw a line of how far you want your ball to travel across the screen. Now, on to lesson 2. This is one of the most crucial parts of an animation. Lesson 2, timing and spacing. This is something that gets talked about so much, but what exactly is timing and spacing? Timing is how long you've given an action to take, and space is how far apart those drawings are in that time you've given. Let's say you plan on moving this ball for 1 second. You also know that in that 1 second, you're going to have 12 drawings because 12 drawings equals 1 second of animation. That's timing. Now, spacing is planning how much the ball moves forward in that time to create the illusion of motion. Something I like to do is create timing lines. I don't think these are the traditional timing lines. This is stuff that I've picked up over years from watching YouTube videos and just experimenting on my own. So the timing lines I'm talking about, this means that I'll go on my staging line and I will create a new layer and I'll put 12 lines at the bottom. The first will be the start of the animation and number 12 is the end. Then you get to play with how close or how far apart the lines are to create the idea of motion. A good rule of thumb is if the lines are close together, it will look like the ball is moving slowly. If they are far apart, it will look like the ball is moving fast. So in your exercise right now, just pick how long you plan on this animation. But before you make your timing lines, I recommend you listen to the third lesson. Lesson 3, ease in, ease out, also known as slow in, slow out. Ease in, ease out deals with how fast or slow something starts and stops. For example, think about a car. When you press on the gas, you get to choose how fast or slow that car is going to start. Will you go from 0 to 60 or will it be a gradual increase? You'll ease into the motion. Or how fast are you going to come to a stop? How does this work in the project? Well, this works directly with spacing because your spacing controls how far apart your drawings are. Your ease in, ease out controls how much space you're going to need. You can now start adding your timing lines to your project. So fill in the 10 remaining lines to pick how fast or slow the ball will start and stop. Pick how far apart your lines need to be spaced to create your ease in, ease out, or a very fast motion. This is also a good time to draw your ball. Copy and move it till it's lined up with all of your timing lines, and then play it and see how that looks. By the way, I realized that I forgot to mention this. You can do this in any drawing program. I'm currently just using Procreate because that's what I prefer. But Adobe Fresco is another great option. I've heard about ToonSquid, and I feel like there are so many other options that I don't even know about. So just pick a drawing app that allows for animation capability, and that's all you need to do. Lesson 4, anticipation. Anticipation in animation is about building up to an action. It also acts as a sign to the audience, look over here, something is about to happen. Something that I've noticed with anticipation in animation is usually the slow opposite of the movement that's about to take place. For example, when you jump, you will crouch down and then spring up. The anticipation is the slow crouch down, and the main action is the springing up. And in this exercise, the single exercise that has so far taught you 3 core principles of animation, now I guess to teach you the 4th one, which all you have to do to build anticipation is the slow opposite of the movement you're about to do. It's only going to take a couple more frames. So you can pull the ball back a couple of frames and then zoom it forward. Another thing is you can rearrange your timing line so that the main action takes less time and you have the anticipation built in. Now we're up to 2 lessons that have nothing to do with animation principles, but these are things that advanced animators tend to think about a lot and that beginners should start thinking about as soon as you start animating, which is why it is perfect in this simple exercise. Lesson 5, consistency. Consistency is about keeping the ball the same size, unless you are growing or shrinking this ball on purpose. If you don't have consistency, your animation can look like this. It's the same timing, spacing, anticipation, everything we talked about, but without the consistency. Right now, in the current exercise you're doing, you have it very easy. All you need to do is copy and paste your ball from frame to frame and move it along your timing lines to keep that consistency. This way you avoid the accidental scaling or cutting of mass. You can draw everything out. You'll get more of that hand-drawn feeling of animation, but you'll want to be careful that your ball doesn't accidentally shrink or grow. Lesson 6, mass and weight. This is one of my favorites because I really did not start thinking of this until much later. Mass and weight refer to what your ball is made of. If you start thinking about whether or not the ball you're animating is light or heavy, it's going to affect how you animate it. For example, if it is light, it is going to move a lot faster than if it's heavy. A heavier ball will take a much stronger push to move it forward, and it'll probably run out of momentum a lot sooner. Even though this isn't an advanced concept, even beginners can start practicing it, which is why I love this idea so much. And when you start doing a more advanced version of this exercise, you can decide if that ball is rubbery, if it's fragile, if it's a bowling ball. There's a bunch of different ways you can do it, but all of those thoughts about what its mass and weight is, what its material is, that is going to affect how you animate something. But in the one exercise that you're doing right now, keep it simple. Pick if this ball is light or heavy. After you've animated your ball, that means that you have done the 6 lessons of staging, timing and spacing, ease in, ease out, anticipation, consistency, mass and weight. So not only have you done the movement that you've created in animation, you now know why it moves as it does, and you get to apply it to bigger animations and more complex animations, and you get to understand exactly why the motion is smooth and works, which is very exciting. I'm really happy for you if you did that exercise or if you're planning on doing it. And now you feel like you're ready to move on. And this exact moment is what determines if you will become a great animator or you will fall into the beginner trap. The trap is thinking that you are done. And I say this for 2 reasons that most people do not want to hear. 1, you finished your animation and now you want to go on and do bigger and better projects. Absolutely, I was there. But what most beginners miss is that if you only did this exercise once, you are missing out. The most amazing thing about animation is that you can animate the same ball 100 different ways. And from every single time you animate that ball a different way, you learn a new way of doing things. And you get to apply that simple action that you created with this simple exercise into a more complex, more complicated action. I do want to point out most of what you've seen in this video, all those examples I gave, it's the same ball just moving different ways. And the second thing that you don't want to hear is that, do you remember I said that there's 12 principles of animation, but I only covered 4. Which means that if you do this exercise again, you start adding principles one by one. And by doing it this way, you learn these principles in a way that isn't going to take a lot of time. I highly recommend adding squash and stretch next, or exaggeration, or turn this into a proper bouncing ball exercise by adding in. If you can figure out how to animate something so simple in many different ways that make people feel like it's a real character, and it has real weight and mass behind it, you've set yourself up to animate anything well.